This is a 6th grade tutorial on how to make and create a coil pot. Here is kind of a finished example. This is a little bit, has a lot more designs in it than you have to make it. And we'll talk about coils too here in a little bit. So this is kind of a finished project. So what you will all need is a chunk of clay, a cup of slip, a couple tools, clay board, a ruler, rolling pin, a bucket for the end to put your clay away at the end of the class time, and that should be about it. So when you get your chunk of clay, what you're going to end up doing is using the palm of your hand, because it's really thick right now. In order to roll it out, it would take a really long time. So we're going to use the palm of our hand, and we're going to press down and flatten it just a little bit before we use the roller. And when you flatten it with your palm, you don't want to go off the edge here, because it will get really thin, and then you can now not use this. What we are going to first start with is our base. So the bottom of our pot here that all our coils are going to sit on when we are done. Okay, so once you got it kind of pushed down, we're going to flip it over so it's not stuck to our board, and we're going to roll. And what we want is the clay to be about as thick as our pointer finger or thumb. We don't want to go much thinner than that. Otherwise, our base will be very fragile and flimsy. So you want to check it, kind of check it with your thumb or your pointer finger. For this purpose, we're going to go the thickness of my thumb. And what you can do is you can either take your nice pencil, your wood pencil tool, and cut out your design for your base. You could do square, you could do triangle, you could do round, really almost any shape for your bottom. Just remember, as you add coils on top, it's going to stay in that shape. So we're going to keep it easy, and I'm going to take a pattern to go off of. So I have a nice perfectly round circle. You can certainly draw your own out if you would like, or also find something as a pattern. Now I'm going to cut all the way around and all the way through. Take my extra off. You're going to keep the extra. That's what we're going to make our coils out of. All right, so here's my base. It's pretty thick. That's okay. Okay, so it's a nice round base. What you're going to want to do is kind of smooth out the edges. You don't want any really sharp edges, because once it dries, the edges actually become pretty sharp. All right. Okay, so now we can set our base off to the side, because we got to start creating our coils. There's many different ways that you can create coils. First, the nice simple couple easy coil is to take a chunk of clay, not too big, and we're going to kind of start squeezing it into a cylinder, or kind of like a hot dog. Okay, squeeze and turn just a little bit just to get it started. Then what you're going to do is you're going to start in the middle with your hands in the middle, and we're not going to push very hard, just a little slightly. And we got to make a 360 circle. If you just go back and forth like this, you're going to end up with a flat edge on your coil. We want our coils to be nice and round. Coils are like long, like little snakes that we want to add onto our pot. So we got to make sure that we do a 360. We're not pushing too hard. And then as you go rolling, you're going to spread out your fingers and spread out your hands and go to the ends of your coil, and you'll notice that it actually started to stretch and get longer. Once you get to the end, you're going to start back in the middle and do the same thing again. All right, once you may notice that one side might get maybe a little bit thinner than the other side. So we're going to stop rolling so much on this side because this one's a little bit thinner. This is a little thicker, so I'm going to just roll on the thick side and thin that out so it's the same thickness as my other side. Okay, so I have one coil there. I'm going to make another one here. Set that one off to the side. Got a piece, this is a really big piece. There we go. Kind of start your coil off. Much easier if you start your coil off kind of that round shape first. Okay, I'm going to show you what it kind of sounds like and looks like if you do not do the full 360 and you just go back and forth. So if you go back and forth, what will end up happening is your coil gets very flat on one side, and it'll kind of make like a clunking noise on your board here. And remember, we want nice round coils versus flat ones. Okay, so if it starts to get flat on you, what you can do is carefully kind of twist it. And keep going. But this time, make sure that you do a 360 and roll it all the way around. Again, it's best if you start in the middle and spread your hands apart. All right, now that we have two here, because of our time restraint at school and we only have about 20 minutes to work, as you make the coils, put them on your base as you make them. It doesn't work so good to put these coils in your bucket and leave them overnight. They get pretty dry, and when you bend them, they'll crack. So you want to put them on as you go. So the next step is to, whenever you add a coil to your base or to another coil, you need to scratch wherever that coil is going to go. And then you need to also scratch on the coil. So you'll see the little scratch marks on there. I'm going to also put scratch marks on my coil. And these scratch marks will be facing each other when you put the coil on top. Okay, so then I have my scratch marks on my coil. I'm going to take some slip from my cup here. It's nice and slimy. This is our glue. This is going to hold our coil and our clay together. And I just need to really put it on one piece. It could be either the coil or the base. I'm just going to put mine on the base. Okay, so you're going to get it nice and slimy. We're going to put our little scratches facing each other. I'm going to go around my base. And you'll see that I will have extra. So what I want to do is I'm going to cut that extra off right where this other piece starts right here. And then I'm going to blend them and smoosh them together like it was one. Okay. So what you can do, we want to be able to see the coil. So this would be one coil on the bottom. We want to see the outside. However, on the inside, we are going to smear this coil down into the base, like that. And you can either use your fingers. I like to use this little spoon tool. It works great. You're going to take a little piece of the coil, and you're going to push it down into your base. If you don't do this, the likelihood of your coil to fall off is pretty high. So go all the way around on the inside. Okay, get rid of those cracks. Then you're going to go back with your finger and smooth it out. You don't want to leave those jagged edges in there because as it dries, it'll get pretty sharp. You need to do this every time you add a coil. You don't want to wait till the next day to push down the inside of your pot and smooth them together like that because it might be too dry. So you want to do it the same day. All right, so then I can go ahead and then add another one. Again, don't forget, we need to scratch and slip. Same process as this one. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple different techniques that you can use besides just the flat coil. You can certainly make your pot out of all just coils like this if you would like. That is up to you. Other kind of decorations, kind of like our finished pot here, we have spirals that we could make. We have raindrops, which I will also show you how to do to create more of a decoration with your pot. There's also braids, twists, all these other crazy things. So we're going to start with a spiral. And these work best if your clay is nice and wet. If your clay starts to get too dry, as you roll your clay up, because you're going to take one end, you're going to bend it in, get it nice and tight, and you're going to roll it up, kind of like a snail. And you can go as big as you want, as tall as you want, and then the end here, you're going to smear it in. Now, before we put it actually on our pot, we're going to smooth out one side so we don't have to try and do that while it's on our pot because it gets a little flimsy. We're going to do that before. Okay, but the other side still has the nice coil on it. Again, we have to scratch and slip wherever it's going to go, both on your pot and on your extra that you're adding. You're adding some slip, you're putting it on, decoration facing outward. Again, you need to take your little spoon tool or your finger, take a little piece from your coil and push it down into your pot and smooth it out. Okay, so now we have a little decoration going on. Another thing that you could do, we could cut this coil up into pieces that are about the same length here and add them going vertical onto our pot instead of horizontal. Okay, so but just remember you need to scratch and slip the bottoms to your pot. And you also will need to scratch and slip these together. Okay. Slip, 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 slip. Once you have them on there, you will need to, in the back, inside your pot, rub them together so they stay. And you also want to rub them together with your spiral. Otherwise, your pot becomes very fragile. All right, and we will do more decorations to come on the second video here. See you soon.